Have you ever wondered what secrets hide behind the majestic mountains and the mystic monasteries of Tibet? Today, we delve into the intriguing life of a man who discovered some of these secrets firsthand, Heinrich Harrer. Born in the heart of Austria, Harrer's life took a turn from the ordinary when his passion for mountaineering led him to scale the north wall of the Eiger, a feat few dared to dream of. But Harrer was not just a mountaineer. He was a sportsman, a geographer, and an author, a man of many talents and adventures. His most extraordinary adventure, however, began during the turmoil of the Second World War, when fate led him on an unexpected journey to the mysterious land of Tibet. There, he spent 7 years that would change his life forever. So, who was Heinrich Harrer, and what happened during his 7 fateful years in Tibet? Heinrich Harrer was not born an adventurer. He was born into a humble existence in the small town of Nittelfeld in Styria, Austria on July 6, 1912. The son of a postal worker, Harrer's early life was far from the extraordinary adventures that would later define him. His youth was spent much like any other Austrian boys of his time, filled with school and family. He pursued his education diligently, showing a keen intellect that would serve him well in his later life. But it was during these formative years that a spark was ignited in Harrer, a spark that would lead him to the highest peaks and across the most challenging terrains. Harrer developed an interest in mountaineering at a young age. He was drawn to the rugged beauty of the Austrian Alps and the challenge they presented. He started off with small climbs, gradually challenging himself with more difficult terrains. His passion for mountaineering grew, and he became a prominent figure in the Austrian mountaineering community. In the year 1938, Harrer accomplished what was considered a significant achievement in the mountaineering world. He, along with his team, ascended the north face of the Eiger, one of the most challenging and dangerous climbs in the Alps. This feat was a testament to Harrer's skill, determination, and courage. It also marked him as one of the leading mountaineers of his time, yet this accomplishment was just the start of Harrer's extraordinary life. His passion for mountaineering would serve as the catalyst for a journey that would take him across continents, from the heights of the Himalayas to the heart of the Tibetan culture. The boy from the small Austrian town who had conquered the north face of the Eiger was on the brink of an adventure that would make him a legend. His life was about to take a turn that he could never have imagined, as he embarked on a journey that would last 7 years in a place far from his homeland, a journey that would change him forever. Yet his life was about to take an unexpected turn. Sometimes a wrong turn can lead you to the right place. And so it was for Heinrich Harrer, whose journey to Tibet was nothing short of an odyssey. Harrer, a native of Austria, found himself interned by British forces in India at the height of the Second World War, but destiny had other plans for him. Locked away in a camp in Dehradun, he was far from the mountains he loved. His spirit, however, remained indomitable. Along with fellow internee Peter Aufschneider, Harrer hatched an escape plan. They slipped through the barbed wire fence under the cover of darkness, leaving the internment camp behind. What followed was a grueling 21-month journey across the rugged Himalayas. This was no leisurely trek. They were 2 men on the run, facing harsh weather, treacherous terrain, and the constant threat of recapture. Yet, they pressed on, driven by a desire for freedom and a sense of adventure. Their journey led them to the forbidden city of Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. Here, in this city high in the Himalayas, they found a world that was as far removed from their Austrian homeland as could be. Lhasa was a city frozen in time, untouched by the chaos of the war that raged across the globe. Harrer and Aufschneider were outsiders in this unfamiliar world, but they were welcomed by the Tibetan people with open arms. They immersed themselves in the culture, learning the language and customs, and forging bonds with the locals. Harrer even found himself in the presence of the Dalai Lama, forming a friendship that would change his life forever. This journey to Tibet, born out of desperation and a desire for freedom, transformed Harrer. It was a journey that took him far from his homeland but brought him closer to understanding the world and his place in it. It was a journey that would shape the rest of his life. In Lhasa, Harrer found a world that was as far removed from his Austrian homeland as could be. Imagine living 7 years in a place where time seems to stand still. This was the reality for Heinrich Harrer, who found himself in a world far removed from the one he knew. Harrer's life in Tibet wasn't just a prolonged sojourn, it became a transformative journey. He arrived there as an Austrian mountaineer, but he would leave as a confidant of the Dalai Lama and a chronicler of a culture on the brink of monumental change. One of the most poignant aspects of Harrer's time in Tibet was his relationship with the young Dalai Lama. A friendship blossomed between the two, transcending the barriers of age, culture, and life experience. The Dalai Lama, only a teenager at the time, was curious about the world beyond Tibet, and he found in Harrer a window to that world. Harrer, in turn, found himself serving as a tutor, imparting knowledge about everything from science to the workings of the outside world. However, Harrer's time in Tibet wasn't just about teaching, it was also about learning. He immersed himself in Tibetan culture, observing and participating in their practices and traditions. He witnessed the deep spirituality that permeated everyday life, the communal rituals that bound the society, and the profound respect for nature that influenced their lifestyle. Harrer's writings would later offer the world a rare and intimate glimpse into a culture that was largely unknown and inaccessible to the outside world. Yet Harrer's time in Tibet was also marked by the shadows of impending change. The Chinese invasion loomed large, threatening to upend the Tibetan way of life. Harrer's writings bear witness to this tumultuous period, capturing the tension, the fear, and the resilience of the Tibetan people. He documented the peaceful protests, the brutal crackdowns, and the indomitable spirit of a people determined to preserve their culture. Despite the upheaval, Harrer remained in Tibet, standing with the Tibetan people until he was finally forced to leave in 1950. His departure was not just the end of his 7-year stay, it was the end of an era for Tibet. The Chinese invasion would bring sweeping changes, forever altering the landscape that Harrer had come to know and love. Harrer's time in Tibet would come to an end, but not before leaving a profound impact on him. It reshaped his worldview, deepened his understanding of humanity, and ignited a lifelong commitment to advocating for Tibetan rights. His 7 years in Tibet were more than just a chapter in his life. They were a definitive period that would shape the course of his life and leave an indelible mark on his legacy. What does one take away from 7 years in a land of mystery and spirituality? This is the question Heinrich Harrer grappled with upon his return to Europe after his incredible sojourn in Tibet. The experiences he had, the people he met, the culture he absorbed, it all shaped him in profound ways. Harrer was a changed man when he set foot back on European soil. He had a new mission, to share his story and the beauty of Tibetan culture with the Western world, and so he penned the book 7 Years in Tibet. His vivid descriptions of life in Tibet and his deep respect for its people captivated readers worldwide. The book became a bestseller, eventually being translated into 53 languages and adapted into a major Hollywood film. Through his writing, Harrer brought Tibet out of the shadows, placing it firmly in the consciousness of the Western world. However, Harrer's legacy is not without controversy. His past, particularly his membership in the Nazi Party, has been a subject of debate. Critics argue that Harrer downplayed his involvement with the party, while others contend that his time in Tibet transformed him, leading him to reject his former beliefs. It's a contentious issue, one that adds a layer of complexity to his legacy. But what remains undeniable is the impact Harrer had in introducing and humanizing Tibetan culture to a global audience. His profound respect for the Tibetan people, their way of life, and their spiritual practices resonated with readers and helped to foster a greater understanding and appreciation of this once remote kingdom. Heinrich Harrer's story is a testament to the power of resilience, the quest for knowledge, and the enduring allure of the unknown. His journey from the North Wall of the Eiger to the court of the Dalai Lama, from an adventurer to an author and cultural ambassador, is a reminder of the transformative power of travel and the beauty of cultural exchange. It's a legacy that continues to inspire and captivate, even decades after his death.